How old are you exactly? 14. How long have you been at it? Oh, for about a year and a half. Have you got any particular weaknesses? Well, Candy. Frankie Lymon was once a teenage sensation, a voice that defined an era, and a star who seemed destined for greatness. But behind the infectious melody of Why Do Fools Fall in Love lay a life marked by turmoil, heartbreak, and unfulfilled potential. Rising to fame as the lead singer of the Teenagers, Frankie captivated audiences with his charm and unique sound, only to be consumed by personal struggles and industry exploitation. His tragic end at just 25 years old was not the conclusion of his story. Filled with controversy and legal battles, this is the heartbreaking tale of Frankie Lymon, a star who burned brightly, but far too briefly. Early life and background. Frankie Joseph Lymon was born on September 30, 1942 in Washington Heights, New York. His early life was steeped in music, which played a significant role in shaping his future. Frankie's parents, Howard and Jean Jeanette Lymon, were both musicians and were part of a gospel group called the Harlem Airs. This exposure to music from a young age set the stage for Frankie's remarkable yet tragic journey in the music industry. Growing up in Harlem during the 1940s and 1950s presented numerous challenges. The neighborhood was vibrant but economically deprived, marked by poverty and a constant struggle for survival. Despite these hardships, Harlem was rich in cultural and musical influences, which significantly impacted young Frankie. Frankie was the eldest of 4 brothers, with siblings Howard Jr., Louis, and Timmy following in his footsteps. The Lymon household was always filled with the sounds of gospel music, thanks to their parents' involvement in the Harlem Airs. Howard Lymon, Frankie's father, was a truck driver by day but a dedicated musician by night. Jeanette Lymon, his mother, worked as a maid, was also deeply involved in the gospel group. Their dedication to music left a lasting impression on Frankie. From a young age, Frankie showed a keen interest in music. He would often watch his parents perform, absorbing every note and rhythm. This early exposure to live performances and the behind-the-scenes dynamics of a musical group fueled his passion and honed his musical skills. Early hustles and challenges living in Harlem also meant that Frankie was exposed to the harsh realities of life. He had to grow up quickly, taking on responsibilities to help support his family. At the age of 10, Frankie was already working at a neighborhood grocery store. This job wasn't just a means to earn pocket money, it was a necessity for his family's survival. Frankie saw firsthand the struggles his parents faced to make ends meet, so working at the grocery store wasn't enough. Frankie turned to other means to earn extra money. Hustling was common in his neighborhood, and young Frankie wasn't immune to its allure. By the age of 10, he was already involved in activities far beyond his years. He started hustling women for white men who had come to Harlem looking for black girls. Frankie later recounted, "I remember when I was 10, I made a good living hustling women for white men that would come up to Harlem looking for black girls. I had to get a commission for every customer I brought them." This gritty side hustle exposed Frankie to the darker aspects of urban life early on. It was a harsh and unforgiving environment, one that demanded quick thinking and street smarts. Formation of the Teenagers. The economic deprivation and the necessity to hustle made Frankie tough, but the music that filled his home gave him a dream to aspire to. Music was the constant light in Frankie Lymon's challenging childhood. At a young age, Frankie joined the church choir. This was a significant step in honing his musical skills. The choir was not just a place of worship, it was a training ground. Frankie learned to sing harmoniously with others and began playing the drums. These early experiences in the church choir helped him develop his musical abilities and provided him with the confidence to perform in front of an audience. Frankie's musical journey took a significant turn when he met a local doo-wop group called the Coupe de Ville. He was captivated by their performance and begged them for months to join the group. A month before his 13th birthday, they finally agreed. The group went through several name changes, initially calling themselves the Premiers, then the Harmonies, before finally settling on the Teenagers. The teenagers consisted of Frankie and four other boys: Jimmy Merchant, Herman Santiago, Joe Negroni, and Sherman Garnes. Frankie was not the lead singer, he was a backup in the quartet. The group would practice relentlessly, harmonizing on street corners, in hallways, and at Frankie's grocery store job. Their passion for music was evident in their daily rehearsals, despite the challenges they faced growing up in Harlem. Rise to fame. This dedication paid off when they caught the attention of Richard Barrett, a member of the Valentines. Barrett, impressed by their talent, arranged an audition with George Goldner, the owner of G Records. Initially, Goldner was hesitant to sign the teenagers due to their age. He was concerned about potential issues with the school board and the group's ability to handle the rigors of the music industry. However, when he heard Frankie Lymon sing, his doubts vanished. Frankie's voice was unique, powerful yet tender, with an emotional depth that belied his young age. Convinced of their potential, Goldner signed the group, on the condition that Frankie would be the lead singer. The recording session for Why Do Fools Fall in Love took place at Bell Sound Studios in New York City. This session was a pivotal moment for the teenagers. Frankie's voice stood out during the session, and his performance was nothing short of spectacular. The song was initially titled, Why Do the Birds Sing So Gay? But Frankie and Herman Santiago reworked the lyrics and the title was changed to Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Released in January 1956, Why Do Fools Fall in Love became an instant hit. The song topped the Billboard R&B chart and reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100.h. Its success was not confined to the United States. It also became a sensation in the United Kingdom, reaching the top of the charts there. The song's catchy melody and Frankie's emotive delivery captivated audiences across the globe. The success of Why Do Fools Fall in Love marked the beginning of the teenagers' rise to fame. Their popularity soared, and they quickly became a household name. The group's dynamic, with Frankie as the charming and talented lead, set a precedent for future boy bands. Their crossover appeal was groundbreaking at the time, bridging racial divides and appealing to a diverse audience of Black, white, and Hispanic fans. Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers' success paved the way for future Motown groups like the Jackson 5. The Teenagers' style, with a young, charismatic lead singer supported by a harmonizing group, became a model for these future acts. The Teenagers' influence extended beyond their immediate success, shaping the development of the music industry for years to come. The Teenagers continued to release hits throughout 1956, including songs like I Want You to Be My Girl and I Promise to Remember. They performed on popular television shows and toured extensively, solidifying their place in the music world. Their performances were electrifying, with Frankie's stage presence captivating audiences everywhere they went. Despite their rapid rise to fame, the pressures of the music industry soon began to take a toll on the group. Frankie, in particular, struggled with the transition from childhood to stardom. The intense spotlight and rigorous schedule were overwhelming for the young star. Challenges and group dynamics. As their fame grew, so did internal tensions within the group, driven by the pressures of success and external influences. George Goldner, the owner of G Records, played a pivotal role in shaping the dynamics of Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers. Recognizing Frankie's standout talent, Goldner began to promote him as a solo act. This decision, however, had far-reaching consequences. As Goldner pushed Frankie into the spotlight, tensions within the group began to simmer. The other members felt sidelined and underappreciated, leading to a growing sense of resentment. These tensions became especially evident during their European tours. The constant traveling, intense schedules, and mounting pressures took their toll on the group. On one occasion, fistfights and threats of a strike nearly sabotaged their performances. The camaraderie that once defined the Teenagers was unraveling, replaced by internal conflict. In 1957, the strain reached a breaking point. Frankie's solo career led to significant changes. Frankie began recording songs without the rest of the group, and in some instances, Goldner replaced the teenagers with session musicians for background vocals. This move alienated the other members, who felt their contributions were being overlooked and undervalued. The final straw came when the group returned to America from a European tour. Arguments erupted, and the growing animosity could no longer be contained. Frankie decided to leave the group, marking the end of Frankie Lymon and the teenagers as a cohesive unit. This decision was devastating for the group, which had enjoyed such rapid success together. Frankie's solo career started with moderate success. His first solo hit, My Girl, showcased his undeniable talent and earned him a record deal. He even performed on the prestigious Ed Sullivan Show, a testament to his continued popularity. Despite these successes, the transition to a solo artist was fraught with challenges. Without the support of his group, Frankie found himself struggling to navigate the pressures of the music industry alone. Career impact of Dancing with the White Girl on The Alan Freed Show. In July of 1957, Frankie Lymon appeared on The Big Beat, a TV show hosted by influential DJ Alan Freed. The show aimed to promote rock and roll music and often featured performances by popular artists of the time. Frankie danced with a white girl on stage. In the racially segregated America of the 1950s, this was seen as highly controversial and unacceptable by many viewers. The reaction was immediate and severe. The sight of a young black teenager dancing with a white girl on national television sparked outrage, particularly in the South. The backlash was so intense that network executives pulled the plug on the show. They not only canceled the episode, but also erased the footage to prevent any future broadcasts. This incident caused the cancellation of The Big Beat. Despite its popularity and potential for bridging racial divides through music, the scandal had a profound impact on Frankie's career. At the time, he was trying to establish himself as a solo artist after leaving the teenagers. The negative publicity from the incident made it difficult for him to secure new opportunities. Promoters and record labels were hesitant to associate with him, fearing backlash from conservative audiences and advertisers. Personal struggles and struggles with substance. From a young age, Frankie Lymon had been exposed to the harsh realities of life in Harlem, and these experiences began to take a toll on him. By the age of 15, he was introduced to substances, a moment that would drastically alter the course of his life and career. In the mid-1950s, substance use was rampant in certain circles, and unfortunately, Frankie's first encounter with substances came at a party where many musicians were using the drug. A woman nearly twice his age showed him how to skin pop, a method of injecting substances just under the skin to get a mild high. Frankie later admitted that he had never intended to get hooked on dope, but the temptation proved too strong. Initially content to skin pop, he soon moved to injecting substances directly into his veins. The impact of substance on his career was immediate and severe. The once bright star who had captivated audiences with "Why Do Fools Fall in Love" began to falter. His performances suffered as his struggle with substance deepened and his reputation in the industry started to decline. Venues and promoters became wary of booking him, fearing that his drug habit would interfere with his performances. Frankie's struggle with substance also wreaked havoc on his personal life. The young star, who had once seemed to have the world at his feet, now found himself increasingly isolated. His relationships with friends and family were strained, and his financial situation deteriorated as his drug use escalated. The pressures of fame, combined with the easy availability of substances, created a perfect storm that Frankie was ill-equipped to handle. Despite several attempts to overcome his struggle with substance, Frankie's struggle with substances was a constant battle. He sought help multiple times, checking into rehabilitation centers and trying to stay clean. There were periods of recovery where it seemed like he might be able to turn his life around. However, each time he made progress, something would trigger a relapse, pulling him back into the cycle of substances. Was his relationship with his road manager, Bob Redcross. Bob tried to help Frankie by moving him into his home on Long Island and keeping a close watch on him to prevent drug use. For a while, this arrangement seemed to work, and Frankie showed signs of improvement. He even spoke about the possibility of a comeback, driven by a desire to reclaim his place in the music world. However, tragedy struck when Frankie's mother, Jeanette, passed away after a long battle with terminal cancer. Her death hit Frankie hard, and he turned to substances to numb his grief. The loss of his mother, coupled with his ongoing struggles in the music industry, proved too much for him to bear. His struggle with substance worsened, and the periods of recovery became shorter and less frequent. Decline and attempts at a comeback. As the years passed, Frankie's once bright star began to dim. His popularity declined and financial troubles mounted.